Call this meeting to order. Tonight we're going to be led in the pledge by Mrs. Amy Wise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Does anybody have any questions on the consent agenda? Comments? All right. Let's go over to number 11. Is that correct, Mr. Owen?
It is. I think the other things. Number 11 is lease of portion of Kittrell School property. In 2007, the board leased a portion of Kittrell School property to John Mark Brandon in exchange for Mr. Brandon keeping it mowed and maintained. The lease automatically renewed each year up to a maximum of 5 years. The prior lease is attached. Mr. Brandon would like to renew the lease on the same terms. Attached is a proposed new lease prepared by Board Attorney Jeff Reed. The lease is for a 1-year term that automatically renews up to a maximum of 5 years. The lease allows either party to terminate upon 30 days advance notice to the other party. Recommend approval. Motion to approve the new lease with John Mark Brandon for a portion of Kittrell School property as presented. And Mr. Clardy said that he's really done a good job of cleaning up even other areas in addition to maintaining that particular part. He expanded it.
Anybody got any questions?
It just appears on its face that it's been a good deal for us. We wouldn't have come back. I'm just curious, what's the history of this? How did this agreement come about? Who approached who?
I think he gets hay off of it some. Miss Blankenship may know more about it than any of us, really.
Well, they've always, since they farm just right across the road from there. So their farm is right there. And I know that they're just, and they've always, if they ever needed anything, you always went to them first because they're right next door to them, to Kittrell.
Anybody else? Number 12.
12A is Blackman Elementary Playground. Principal Cynthia Ford has asked permission to install playground equipment that she purchased with funds raised by the Blackman Elementary PTO to upgrade the existing third grade playground. The equipment is valued at approximately $20,000. The installation will be funded by the school. The playground in its entirety will be funded at no cost to the Rutherford County School Board. Recommend approval. Motion to approve installation of a third grade playground upgrade at Blackman Elementary School as presented at no cost to the board.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Tackett?
This is completely off the subject except for Blackman Elementary School. Any ideas at this point in time when the new city school is built, what type of relief we can expect to get there at Blackman Elementary School? Is it going to be as significant as we hope it will be? Do we know? Have any ideas?
Yeah, Dr. Gilbert did, even while we were at the conference this week, she did mention that they're probably going to, because of when they get a new school with the number of schools, that they've got to look at rezoning probably broader than just that area. So hopefully it will give us some relief, and I think that's their intention too, to put students in it. But I think it's going to be a bigger zoning issue for the city than simply that area.
Anybody else? 12B.
12B is the Riverdale High School baseball locker room. Principal Tom Nolan has requested permission to build a new locker room for the baseball program. They are currently using space in the existing weight room. The boys' lockers will be in the new building, and the existing locker room will be used for more weight room area. The proposed building will be a 30 feet by 50 foot pre-engineered metal building on a monolithic concrete slab. It will be constructed adjacent to the existing building. Mr. Nolan and his building team will be responsible for all permits and all requirements pertinent by state and local code. The approximate cost of the building is $35,000. A donor has donated $20,000 and the balance will be paid by the Baseball Booster Club at no cost to Rutherford County School Board. There is no gender equity issue since the softball team has locker rooms and currently uses a weight room and will have access will have access to the new area in the existing building. Recommend approval, motion to approve construction of a 30-foot by 60-foot. You know, that's a different number there, Gary. I just didn't pick up on that. Pre-engineered baseball building at Riverdale High School is presented at no cost to the board. Our dialogue was 30 by 50, and I noticed the motion's 30 by 60. I didn't pick up on that before
I didn't either.
when we went over it.
That's additional 10 feet.
Probably the drawing probably tells us.
Yeah, one of them, I think it's two different numbers. It's 30 by 50, should be the
Okay.
correct number.
We'll correct that before the board
Yeah.
meeting Thursday night then.
Any comments, questions in regards to this?
That's $55,000 in improvements in schools is no cost to us tonight, thing with the two together.
Yep.
So where at, are they wanting to build this? Where at?
You know where the existing baseball building is,
Yeah.
it's right behind home.
Yeah.
It'll be just beyond that down the right field line,
Okay.
adjacent to the other.
Okay. Um,
Anybody else? Mr. Carter, if you don't mind, would you give us an update on Stewart's Creek, the high school?
Sure. Ms. Joyce and I went out yesterday and visited with Principal Harold for about an hour and a half, getting the planning done for the ribbon cutting ceremony. And Ms. Joyce was pleased with the way the building looked. So I think we're doing pretty good at this point. We have all the paving completed now, except for a small section in the back where we are repairing some unstable soil. The overlayment out on Red Hawk Parkway is done. The main part of the Amerville Road turning lane is completed. They still lack getting the signals put in. The city is putting those signals in on wooden poles until the metal poles arrive. And I understand that that will be done by the beginning of school. The main part of the inside building is finished. We're in there cleaning now. The contractor's doing his cleaning. All areas are pretty much done except maybe just a little bit back in the coaches' offices, in the back area between the two gyms, the auxiliary gym and the main gym. We are just doing some minor landscaping at this point because it's such a dry part of the year, and the rest of the landscaping will be done this fall. The principal has some days set aside in the next week or so where the teachers will be coming in shifts, getting their classrooms ready. And then the last week before the ribbon cutting ceremony, he will have all traffic locked out, and they'll be doing a major clean. He has his custodial staff on now, which involves 8, and he's hiring 2 more. That will be his night shift custodian. And so they'll all be in there. They're in there now distributing stuff that's been coming in for the last few weeks, and they will be doing the final cleaning. So it really looks good. We're have the gate up over at Gossett Drive. The people in the neighborhood have children going there, so they do want on that side access so their children can come through to get to the school. And so we're modifying that fence and gate now with a little serpentine maze so they can come through and still can't get any type of vehicle through there. The other side is 50% complete at Falkland, and all we lack is a gate section on that and then some fencing. Most of the sod work's done on the outside with the exception of the baseball field. And they put the equipment on the job to do that with. So it's wrapping up nicely, everything's coming together, and it looks great.
How's the football field? Is it
Football field looks good, it's sodded, they're watering it, has the irrigation in. We delivered, dropped off 2 water cannons to them so they can even water out of the fire hydrants that are down in those areas. So we're coming good.
That's right.
On Morton, they'll be coming from the Emerald Road side, and they'll be coming from the Rocky Fork side too. What will we do to, because that's going to be a real gridlock right there coming off of both of those roads. What are we going to do right there at the entrance of?
You mean there at Amaville Road and,
No, where the
Rocky
Red
Fork.
Hawk, into Morton. There's going to be such a long line on Amberville. They're going to have to cut in through down Morton from Rocky Fork. So I just see a lot of traffic lining up right there at that point, and I just wondered.
there will be officers at each one of those intersections.
So that
to
we'll have
direct
traffic direction there.
Right.
Okay. I just-
And then we will see what happens for a couple, 3 weeks and see if we need to make any adjustments to account for traffic patterns.
I just see that the Rocky Fork entrance is going to be real popular just because the Emerald Road traffic is so heavy all day long.
Right.
So I was just curious. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Holiday?
A little different topic. We're also, I think maybe tomorrow, doing Blackman bid documents. Are we still on track there?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to getting those in. And the money's been approved for that. It hasn't been borrowed yet, but it's been approved for that. And our next hurdle will be Smyrna Primary School. The fees for the design have been approved, but the funding hasn't been approved for that. So we'll have to go after that money.
Moving forward with design.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I was at Stewart's Creek High School today, and the Smyrna Fire Department, they were yesterday and today and tomorrow, each shift is going through, they had all their engines parked there, and so all those people are doing their walkthroughs, looking at the building, familiarizing themselves with that. They're outside washing those windows and all too, so there's a lot of cleanup and work going on.
All right. Nobody has any questions. We're gonna pass over 13 and 14 and cover that on Thursday night. Number 15, Mr. O.
15 is a for information only transportation piece. The Transportation Department ended the 2012-2013 school year transporting a total of 25,278 Rutherford County students. 591 of them were special education students, and 24,687 were regular education students, compared to 2011-12 when we transported a total of 24,783 students, which is a 2% increase. We also transported 204 Atlas students, which is Academic Time Leads to Achieving students, Rutherford County Schools Assistance Program for Families in Transition, in 2012-13 versus 195 in 2011-12, or a 4.5% increase for the Atlas transportation. We currently have 228 buses under contract. 32 of them are special education buses and 196 are transit buses. All buses are inspected annually by the State of Tennessee Department of Safety, and a sticker denoting compliance is attached to each bus. The district owns 29 activity buses, which are also inspected by the State of Tennessee. We have 242 regular bus drivers and 90 substitute bus drivers. There are 90 other school district employees who hold a valid certified driver's license, CDL. This equates to 422 drivers that must be monitored for drug testing and DOT physical requirements. For the school year 2012-13, we had 2 personal injury accidents and 22 property damage accidents for a total of 24 accidents, compared to 2011-12 when we had 5 personal injury accidents and 36 property damage accidents, for a total of 41, or 41.5% decrease.
You come, Mr. Holliday?
That's a good report. Moving in the right direction for sure.
I just marvel at the number of buses that we run. That number just is staggering. It's staggering.
The number of miles traveled, I've heard that number. I mean, you get in the millions a year. I mean, it's amazing how many miles you have.
Anybody else? Number 16, general discussion. Mr. Tackett?
I was reminded at the summer law sessions last week, this SRO report, that the SRO program at Rutherford County Schools is 20 years old. So in 1993, the first SRO was replaced. And I remember that very well because that was my first year at Oakland High School. That's when the assistant principals were allotted the fourth position at each of the schools. So we had 4 assistant principals added and 4 SROs added in 1993. I don't know, I think it might be appropriate at some point in time if the board takes special note of that and reaches out to those in part of the SRO program or however we might want to do it, just to acknowledge the great program that's been in place for 20 years.
And we received this week from the Sheriff's Department assignments for the next year, so they had worked in by name and all the 13 additional that would be employed next year and the schools in which they were assigned to. So that actually went to principals Thursday or Friday of last week, actually, wasn't it? Something like that.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think the SRO program was started here. I believe Buddy Royston is the gentleman that actually started the program. So it's growing into a big program everywhere, all school systems, and I think that's just worth mentioning that the program are, derived from our system here. So
The presentation we heard at the conference, that was supposed to be a model for schools across the state of Tennessee. The beginning of the presentation was from Blount County schools. The first thing we did was we went to Rutherford County to see how it's done, and then they, proceeded from there. And so it was very complimentary.
The Department of Defense, I remember, took some of our SROs and sent them to train Department of Defense SRO programs in other places. They actually traveled overseas to some islands or something like that to do some training early on. That's been several years ago now, but it's been recognized really nationally.
Anybody else? Mr. Tucker?
I, along with Ms. Blankenship, attended the Southern Regional Conference in Destin this past couple of weeks ago. One thing that, and maybe I'm ashamed to say that, profiling kids or thinking you're profiling kids. There was this kid, I thought, walking up and down the aisles in a meeting. They had this cap on, baggy pants, long shirt, sunglasses.
Do-rag. Don't forget.
Do-rag and all of that. And while we were doing the pledge, doing all of that, they introduced the speaker. All of a sudden, he got up on the stage. And I think he started rapping a little bit and all of that. Turned out this man was a doctor, had a doctorate degree from a college and had tenure there, and has been speaking around the world. And it kind of impressed me so much that this man, you can't really judge what you see in a kid or a person. And it really caught my attention through the whole meeting. Because he, at the end of the, hour and a half?
Hour and a half. He spoke an hour.
Yeah. He took his do-rags, took all that off. He had a suit under it. And at the end, he went and got his doctorate robe and cap. I mean, it was such a change from when you first saw him. It was really impressive. I think his name was Adolph Brown,
Dr. Adolph Brown.
and he speaks all around the world. So, I mean, he's highly in demand. But I thought that was really, really special.
That's the potential for every child.
It is. And that was his theme, you know. He come from a broken home. I think he had to live with his grandparents or somebody, his uncle, and he grew up impoverished, and he rose to that. But he said it was for people, it was for teachers who seen the potential in him and helped him. It was amazing.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, just a little housekeeping, because the fall will get busy. I don't know necessarily how effective our time with our state legislative delegation was in cooperation with Murfreesboro City Board, but do we have plans in the coming 4 or 5 months to possibly repeat that meeting?
Put it this way, I'll do what the board wants to. I think the last session we went through, I thought we had some commitments, but it appears we didn't. So I'll do what the board would like.
We'll think on that then.
If you got feeling strong one way or another, just let me know and I'll be glad to do what we need to. Mr. Tackett?
I just go back and comment or take the challenge that comes to school personnel is there's not a time that I'm aware of that when somebody has gone in, especially a student in school, you get into a suicide situation or you get into a very deviant behavior situation, somebody does something way off the cuff, that we're not asked the question, well, why did we not recognize that? And that presents the great challenge that we have, is because you do have some students that are way off the beaten path in either the way they dress, the way they act, and so forth. And we're supposed to identify them as being the ones that are going to do some of those kind of things. So it just brings up the challenge, and I agree, you can't profile it, but it really always came about with suicide. And when you're in schools the size of Oakland, it happened way too often. There wasn't a time that one of those 6 teachers, all those 6 teachers, I should say, that student had, didn't ask the question, why did I not see that? And part of the reason we don't see that is because we see students being students, kids being kids, people being people, and they don't always fit the path. And when somebody is a little bit off the path, you can't say, well, you got to go see the school psychologist because I'm afraid you're going to commit suicide or I'm afraid you're going to break something up. So I'm just bringing that up to present the huge challenge that our school personnel have within the schools is to how do you possibly identify what is what and what is not? And then if you don't identify it, we're going to be criticized as to why we did not recognize what took place.
That's true. That's true.
Well, there's a training that teachers see every year. What's the name of that one, Angel, that the state requires right at the first few days that the film that we watch? Which one is that one? Angel, do you remember, Paula?
Jason Foundation Suicide.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I think, every year, that's when teachers observe that and all. So Tennessee has tried to do some things to really address that.
Well, I know it's hard when you have so many students coming through every hour, all day long. It's hard to get the time with those children. And I admire the teachers who can identify and help those students. It's amazing the work, that commitment they have. And I appreciate all the teachers, staff, and parents that can raise a child nowadays.
You saw the young man from Holloway not too many months ago that lived part of the time in his car, if you remember, and was getting the full scholarship to MTSU. That's right here.
Anybody else? I've asked Ms. McLeod if she wants to comment in regards to, the policy meeting. She may want to elaborate a little bit what's going to go on with that.
Just to remind you that we do have a policy meeting coming up on August the 6th. Right now, it looks like we'll have 17 or 18 policies to review, mostly because of new legislation. But if you have any policies that you're interested in addressing, just let me know and I'll put those on the agenda. I'd like to have them by the end of the week if that's possible.
Now, you send these to Nashville, is that right? Is
I
that,
need to send them to TSBA to
Okay.
get drafts back so that you'll have those to review beforehand.
okay. If anybody's got any policies that, you've got interest in or that, aren't listed, you know, contact Angel and she'll put them on the agenda.
Ms. McLeod and I met this morning. We went over the ones at the legal conference, and which I'd placed an asterisk or something by, you know, are we covered here or not covered here? And each time she had already worked on the policy or was in the process of revision, so it'll be part of those 17 that we'll be addressing.
Anybody else? If nothing else, we're adjourned and we'll meet back Thursday at 5 o'clock.